Well, happy Sunday. It's time for this week's video. Get ready. Well, today's subject is something that's, I suppose it should be addressed, and I'll tell you how far I go with it. It's a question that was also originally asked on our Friends of Mike Williams and the Gospel Revolution Facebook group. Michael asked a question. Let's look at it real quick. It says, "What are your thoughts on Ananias and Sapphira? This is after the cross." Good point. It is after the cross. And I look at this from two points of view. And one of it is consider the source, and number two is consider the gospel. Okay, first let's consider the source. The source is the author in Acts. That is where that story is told. It is told by the author Luke. Luke wrote the book, the Acts of the Apostles, and he also is the author of the Gospel of Luke in the four Gospels at the beginning of the New Testament. What do we know about Luke? Luke was never an eyewitness to the ministry of Jesus. He did not know Jesus, yet he tells the whole gospel as if he were there. So Luke liked getting information. He asked around, he got stories, and he pieced them all together. When did Luke join the way, or this movement about Jesus and the gospel? It's unclear, but apparently he did a lot of story gathering, and his accuracy is very much in question. Theologians have questioned it over the years. There's a lot of little things that Luke obviously had inaccurately, and most likely because he was not an eyewitness. Either that, or his notes were wrong, or the people he was talking to was wrong, or something. Because even Luke, in the book, The Acts of the Apostles, he actually talks about Paul's road to Damascus experience twice. Now, Paul also in his own letters has talked about his conversion on his way to Damascus. Luke talks about it twice in the book of Acts, and in one part of the book of Acts, he says that the soldiers did not hear a voice, and the soldiers who were accompanying Paul on the way to Damascus. And in another part, he says the soldiers did hear a voice. And so Luke certainly couldn't have been too concerned about his own accuracy, even in his own writing, that one book. So Luke's accuracy has always been called into question for a number of reasons. We know it appears that Luke actually started traveling with Paul at some point, but again, also at a much later date. And then Luke also does tell the story about Ananias and Sapphira. Now, by the time Luke joined this whole organization, there had probably been years of rumors and folklore, so he's gathering up all these little stories and deciding what he wants to put into this book. So you have to consider all of this, because most likely he didn't see a lot of it, and it could have just been folklore and hearsay and everything else. So that's Luke, and his accuracy and his credibility is very much in question, and has been for centuries by theologians. Then you consider the gospel side of this. Paul, in his letters, he talks about proclaiming the gospel of peace. And what he means by that is he's proclaiming the covenant of peace that was prophesied a number of times in the scriptures, in the Old Testament, of the new covenant that would be established, which is the covenant of peace. And when that covenant of peace is established, God would never be angry again. He would not punish anyone ever again. there would be no retribution from God ever again. And here, according to this story about Ananias and Sapphira, God punished them for lying to the Holy Spirit. That if God did that, then no new covenant was ever established, because the new covenant of peace, which is the covenant that was to come, which we do, which is our new covenant, that would never have been established. So it's highly questionable why Luke chose to put that story in there. It's probably a story he heard. He was very intrigued by it, and he was probably intrigued by any mystical story that talked about the manifestation of a supernatural event. During that age, those things were very, very intriguing to people and very much caught their attention. Is the story true? I am absolutely convinced it is not, and if it is, it wasn't by the hand of God. Something really weird happened, but most likely explainable. It's revolutionary, I know. I just questioned something in the New Testament as being accurate. But have a revolutionary week.